People ruin things when they get older. What I've realized is that when you get older, that rose petal freaking kid high that you have vanishes because you start to see the world for what it is and you start over analyzing everything in the world. When you're a child, you're actually way more self assured of things. When you become an adult, you start questioning things too much. I mean, even when it comes to small things, such as watching a movie. When you're a kid, watching a movie feels like the most exciting thing in the world. You don't know all the tropes and the cliches and all that stuff when you're 7 years old. So it makes the feeling of watching a movie more exciting. The twists and turns are more exciting because you're inexperienced when it comes to movies. But when you become an adult, now you know all the tropes. Yeah, now you know everything that happens in movies. And it ruins it because you know too much and you overthink too much. I mean, let's go and look at all the different YouTubers who analyze movies nowadays. Nowadays, people analyze movies and they break them down to their core, and they're too worried about making the perfect movie, about the movie being the best movie, about the movie not following cliches and tropes and breaking the mold and becoming the most fantastic movie ever made because it's something new. Instead of realizing that it doesn't matter if something is new because nothing new truly exists. What matters is it a good movie? Did you like it? Were you entertained? Did you have fun? Did you enjoy the experience of watching the movie? Did you enjoy the experience of having your friends with you? See, the thing is as well is that when you get older, you do the same thing with friends like you do with movies or TV shows or books. You think too much about all the problems that the friend can have. You think of how insecure the friend is. You think about how whiny the friend is. You think about how annoying the person's voice is. You're analyzing the person too much, and it can ruin it. When you were a child, you didn't really think of all that. You would hang out with anybody, and you had fun hanging out with almost anybody. And even if the person was a horrible human being, it was like a video game. You like reset everything the next day, like the last day didn't exist. It's like a soft reset to a video game. I mean, we all have experienced this where somebody did something. They could have like beat us up on Monday, but on Tuesday, we act like the stuff on Monday didn't happen. It's very strange. Now we don't do that. We don't give soft resets. We don't give forgiveness. And maybe even then we didn't really necessarily give forgiveness. We just didn't really pay attention to it that much. Our mind didn't analyze it that much. And even people that you didn't really like, sometimes you still would have adventures and would have fun. When you get older, when people do you wrong, there is no soft reset. Now it's just game is over. I don't want to tolerate this person anymore. I don't like this person anymore. I despise this person as an individual because they hurt me. As a kid before, you'd be like, man, I despise this individual for this moment. But the next day, I'm just going to act like it didn't happen. Or we'll just try again. That's how it was. And it's actually mind blowing how it is when you really break it down like that. It's just we don't have the kid high anymore. We don't have the soft reset anymore. We don't have the soft forgiveness, the to a certain degree forgiving the person, because if you didn't, then you wouldn't hang out with them. It was more of like a quiet forgiveness. The soft reset was like a quiet forgiveness. It was like you forgave them and just kind of went on about your day. And even as a child, when you're a small little boy, 6, 7 years old, you're more kind. You give your guy friends hugs. You show your guy friends affection in that way. You know, give them hugs, tell them you miss them, stuff like that. It's not seen as gay because there's no concept of gay yet. You didn't think, oh, this person is gay, or this person is weird, or this person is creepy. You're just a child. You have that child innocence to you. But then once you become a teenager, that's when things begin to change. You know, even as a child, you don't even really pay attention to the fact that girls are girls to a certain degree. You just hang out with them if they're kind and nice to you as a child. You know, you don't care about them being a woman, and you don't base their attitude on, well, that's how a woman is going to act. You didn't do that as a child. Men didn't do that as little boys when they were little children. You just had fun. You just played with whoever played with you. At least that was my experience. I didn't care if somebody was a boy or a girl or gay or whatever. I just hung out with them if they were a good person and enjoyed their presence. I didn't judge them. When you're younger, when you're a child, again, when I say younger, I'm talking about like 5 to about 9. You're not as judgy. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still kids who try to clown other kids at that age, but a good chunk of kids at that age aren't that judgy. You know, if you remember back when you were like in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, kids weren't really super judgy. There was only a couple of kids that were really bullies. But then it does get to a point when you get to around 5th, 6th grade where people start thinking you're a loser because they start siding with the bully because they don't want to get bullied. You know, and the bullies are usually bad little boys and little girls, because I remember little girls being bullies as well, who would fight people and be disrespectful. You know, the group thing still was a thing. And by group thing, I mean everybody who's similar usually hangs out with each other. Usually in high school the most. But when I was like in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, you know, people who acted similar still hung out with one another. But you guys understand what I'm saying. That childlike innocence does disappear. But I do believe that some kids never had that. I think some kids never had a childlike innocence because they were beat or abused or disrespected or bullied too much as a kid. And there were still bullies everywhere. I mean, I had some friends that were narcissists, because I'm going to keep it real. Little kids are narcissists. They think they know everything. Like I said, they're very self-assured when they're a kid. And it's funny though, because when you go back and look at it, at least when it came to me, I didn't even know what race was until I probably was in like 6th grade. I didn't know what a white person was or a Mexican, and then because I just didn't look at the world like that. I was genuinely an innocent kid, and I had that innocent kid high up until I probably was like 16, 17. You know, it's kind of like that feeling when you're younger that I will always love and cherish, is that feeling you get when you're like around girls that you like and they're actually nice back to you. That was always really nice. I mean, there was always still, you know, teenage boys that were assholes, of course, and there was teenage girls who were assholes, because assholes have no gender or no sex. You know, they're just assholes. Assholes are just assholes. So there were girls who were assholes towards me, men who were assholes towards me. But it always felt good when you liked the girl and she liked you back. It was like the best feeling. You got the like biggest high off of that, because as a little boy, you know, well, now as a teenager, when I was younger, it wasn't as much as people make it seem like dudes are just only into women for sex. Me as a teenage boy, I just loved being around girls. I would have a big old crush on a whole bunch of them. I just loved being around them, talking to them, you know, hugging on them, getting to know them. And I always had that teenage boy high of just being so excited to be able to talk to girls. I don't remember it just being like, oh yeah, I just want to have sex with her, you know. And I used to always tell my friends about them too. I'd be like, man, I really like this girl. You know, she just makes me feel really good. You know, I feel like I'm like high off of her or something. It just feels really good to be around her and stuff. I remember talking like that, and sometimes I was shy, sometimes I wasn't. But I didn't remember there being all this nonsense. Oh, it's because you're a girl. That was probably why girls were a lot nicer to me. There were lots of girls that like walked home with me and stuff, and they weren't like afraid to do it, or they weren't creeped out because they knew I was like hella nice. When I was like 13, I think I walked home with maybe like four or five girls. I would like walk them to where they lived. I wouldn't walk them all the way to their house, but there would be like we'd walk home from my school, and there would be like the little crosswalk or something, and they would go their way, and then I would go my way type shit. So it wasn't like I would walk them all the way to their door type shit, but it would be like I'd walk them to their street corner and be like, "You going that way?" And they'd be like, "Yeah," and I'd be like, "You take care," and they'd be like, "You take care." I remember these like three girls. I remember one of them was hella rude towards me for some reason when we were at school. She was a white girl. But like at home, because we lived in the same apartment complex, she was actually kind of nice towards me, which had me confused as a kid. And then I remember she had two friends, and I had a big crush on one of them. And she used to always tell me she loved me and would give me hugs and shit. And she even told me she'd just be doing that to make me feel all fuzzy inside. Some people would take it as like manipulation, but I thought it was kind of cute, kind of. Is I don't really think she was really like manipulative. I think that was just her personality type shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? She was hella nice and polite. And then there was a third girl. I think she was like Mexican or something. Because two of them were Mexican. The one that I had a crush on was Mexican, and the other girl was Mexican. And then the one that was rude to me at school, I think she was just a white girl. And my friend had a crush on her. But I remember walking, not the one I had a crush on, and not the white girl, but the other one walking her home one time. And she apparently had got like held back a year. She was like a year older than everybody. And she was hella cool, bro. Like, I don't remember her ever being rude, not one time. And I thought she was cute too. Cause she was just hella nice, bro. Like, chick was like the nicest chick I think I've ever met before. She was hella kind. She wasn't like weird acting. It wasn't uncomfortable when I was like walking her home. She was actually talking to me, and we were having like a deep conversation. I can't even remember what we talked about. We talked about something, but she was always like really open to talking, which I liked. I always liked when females are like open to talking to you, and they weren't like weird acting. Because some chicks back in the day were just weird acting. Like they would be like too overly emotional and act weird because, they're going through their, you know, they're getting that age where they're getting like a period. And they actually start when they're like 8 years old, but some of them get it later. And, a lot of them had their time in the month and didn't really know how to cope with it. So it was like, I remember hanging out with some chicks who were like weird and like overly crybaby-ish. But then I remember hanging out with some chicks who also had a time in the month, but they were like hella cool. They must have got theirs like young, because they were just hella nice still. It was weird. They were like the kindest chicks. But old girl that I like walked home that time, she was like super nice. We had like this deep ass conversation, and then she just left, went her way, I went my own way. And it was just like stuff like that was so natural when you were a kid. It was like you didn't, there was no, like there was women who thought, there was girls who thought you were weird, but there were girls who were like hella cool and hella nice. It wasn't like now where it's like men and women are just at war all the time. They just don't like each other. And that's like most men and most women on the internet. Before, it was like there was a group of females who couldn't stand you for whatever reason. And then there was a group of girls who were just hella nice to you for whatever reason. And y'all had a bond. And the bond didn't even have to be like super deep. It could just be an understanding of like, I trust this guy. I know this guy. He ain't a creeper. He ain't a weirdo type shit. I even give him hugs and vibe with him. And it always felt good when females knew you wasn't a creeper, knew you wasn't a weirdo, and they'll hug up on you or sit in your lap or just vibe with you and y'all have a good ass time. Bro, I had so many female friends like that, bro. And that shit was cool, bro. That shit was cool. I ain't gonna lie. That shit used to feel good as fuck, bro. I'm telling you, bro. When you young, I swear, bro, that when you met them like females, the group of females that are actually cool with you, but it was a vibe, bro. And it was fun to sit there and talk to him and get to know him and have these deep ass conversations. And, you get a hug from him and you just be all happy and shit. And you be high off of that hug for like a month or two and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like, yeah, she gave me a hug, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, cause I was just a nigga. I just would vibe, bro. You know, sometimes I was weird as fuck. I mean, every teenager is weird as fuck, but I did get a little. I got to a point where I got older and I stopped having like a weird vibe or whatever. You know, when I was a little bit older. But yeah, and like I said, as a kid, I was all over the place. Like I keep it 100. Like people would try to lie and tell like these deep ass stories. Nah, bro, the world is not freaking black or white. There were times where I was a cool kid. Sometimes there was times where I was lame as fuck and nobody liked me, thought I was weird as fuck on me. You know what I'm saying? It was like that even in high school. There's niggas who thought I was like, I wasn't shit. But then there was niggas that thought I was cool. You know what I'm saying? It's always like that in life though. Everybody deals with that. Where you have a group of people that think you are the shit, and then you have a group of people who think you ain't shit. That's how it always is gonna be. And that's how it always was. You know what I'm saying? Even the supposed like cool kids back in the day, there was a chunk of people that didn't really like them and shit. But yeah, man, I was sleeping and I just for some reason I just wanted to tell this story. Um I had also like recently just watched a little video about Pokemon the first movie, and this guy was just talking about how the Japanese version was better than the English version, and it just put it into perspective for me, on how people just ruin stuff when they get older. You know what I'm saying? Stuff will be really cool when you're a child, and then when you get older, everything is ruined because people overanalyze it too much or they don't try to understand it. But back when you was young, there was just an understanding, and you just matched vibes naturally. Everything was more natural and you got high off of stuff more, because you didn't really worry about stuff as much. And it was like you got high just being able to have a sleepover with your friend. I remember having this friend, rest in peace, he's dead now. But I remember having this friend where it was like if when I went to his house, I had this high. I was just excited to be at my friend's house. And I was really excited when you would have like a sleepover and we played PlayStation 1. That was like the funnest thing. We would play like Crash Bandicoot. We would play that old school Spider-Man game. And we used to walk around and we would have, what's it called? We'd have like Spider-Man action figures. That was fun. I used to always think it was fun when I would meet another kid who would walk around with an action figure. They would have their own Spider-Man action figure or their own Power Ranger or something. Because when I was young, when I was like in like third, fourth grade, that was the wave, bro. The wave was like everybody carried around one action figure. That's just how it was. I wonder why that is. As dudes, we just carry around an action figure, and then girls used to carry around like a Barbie doll or something, or a soccer ball or basketball if they were like a tomboy. Um, but that's how it was. I remember having this friend who was a year younger than me, and he used to carry around a Sonic action figure all the time. I remember, I used to go to his house when I was in like fifth grade. Like I lived hella far, but I would like walk to his house and just hang out at his house, and he'd be like running around in the background, but I would be like sitting talking to his dad, and we would have like these super deep conversations. It was hella funny, cause he acted like my friend acted like he was like a little immature little kid. Like he acted like he was like 6 years old, even though at the time he was probably about like 10 or 11, and I was like 12, and but his dad was like chill. He was like a big chunky white guy, but he was like 6 foot. And we would just have just random deep conversations, and I'll just ask him random questions and stuff. You know, I kind of like when you're a child and you have that innocence and you don't really think of stuff too much. You know, for example, like when you're a little boy, you don't think about being creepy or people perceiving you as creepy and shit like that. But when you turn like 18, 19, you know that females can perceive you as like a rapist or a pedophile or a molester or like a weird, creepy dude who might do something to them. Like, but you didn't feel that when you was a little kid or when you was a teenager. You know what I'm saying? Because you still have that innocence in your mind. So it's like you didn't think that deeply about stuff. You would just be having you a good time. You know what I'm saying? And in return, it made you more trustworthy. And people just thought you were more trustworthy when you were younger because you were a kid. But that's all I really wanted to talk about. I just was in a mood to talk about this type of stuff. But I hope you guys are having a good day. Peace and blessings.